for the Executive Director of Operations. Senator Bowen has agreed to take this position, and if he can tighten up his tie, we can confirm.
Right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Scott O'Brien,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute to the best of my ability
to faithfully execute to the best of my ability
the office of, state your office,
the office of Executive Director of Operations
for the Texas A&M University Student Government Association,
for the Texas A&M University Student Government Association,
and at all times to protect the welfare of the student body
and at all times to protect the welfare of the student body
and to promote good relations between the students
and to promote good relations between the students
and those concerned with the university.
and those concerned with the university.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much for that. We're now going to move on. We're going to move SB 10 and 50, spring appropriation bill to the top of the agenda. Please be aware that SB 10 S43 carpool supplementary funding bill has been tabled for the time being. You have 3 minutes to give a presentation and 2 minutes for Q&A. Sid? Yes.
If the appropriations committee can come down here and join me.
Yeah, we have a better.
Just scroll all the way down, all the way down, there's a document.
Stay in order. Officer chief. I'm not gonna call you out again.
Was this bill emailed out?
It was posted online.
We were supposed to be presenting it last meeting, but we ran out of time, so we're throwing it.
There we go. All right. Go for it, gentlemen.
Alright, howdy guys. We were presented with 3 appeals. The first appeal, if you can scroll down a little bit. First of all, if you want to read the top, quick skim, it just talks about our duties in the Appropriations Committee and the things that we've been charged with. To that a little bit, we are doing the entire Diversity Commission budget right now, which we totaled out to be $2,450. Meat came to us and he gave us his entire appeal, his entire approach to what he's going to be doing with this Model UN program. We think it's a great idea. It's going to be a lot of fun for this program, and I encourage you to try and participate in it. These numbers go down by the line by line. Altogether, like I said, $2,450. I think the original request was somewhere around $2,700, so we pretty much left everything up there. The thing that this is missing, though, are the operational expenses, and that's because we already gave and granted the operational expenses at the beginning of this year. So we scroll down a little bit more. This is a idea that EIC came up with. They came to us at the beginning of the year with a $1,500 proposal for a film festival idea. We thought the idea was great. We thought the film festival was great. But we wanted to see them bring down the costs a little bit, and that's exactly what they did here. They did 2 things. One, they're partnering with some kind of a governmental organization that gives free movie rights to different screenings of movies that they own the properties to. So they're going to be putting one of those on during their film festival. And the second one, they're partnering with Aggie Cinema. And when they partner with Aggie Cinema, they're splitting all the costs down the middle. So we're very proud of them for coming to us and cutting their budget down by into a third of what it originally was. And these are the numbers we have left over from it. Again, we probably cut those down $20 from their original request, so pretty much gave them all the appeals they had. The third appeal that we got that is not up here, you'll notice is the Big 12 on the Hill. Now this is the consensus that we came to. At the beginning of the year, we were presented with a budget to fund Big 12 on the Hill. It was going to be $5,300, which was to send 4 students and an advisor to Washington, D.C. for 4 days and 3 nights. Ultimately, we said, you know what, we want to see them do some work. We want to see LR do some fundraising. We want to see them come up with some of this money by themselves. In past years, we've never spent $5,300 on sending anyone anywhere. Last year, we spent a little over $1,000. We basically told LR, we said, we want to see some progress. We want to see you guys come up with some fundraising ideas. When they came back to us the second time, after we had already given the original request at the beginning of the year, they came back to us the second time and hit us with the same budget. So we gave them the same answer. We said, we'd like to see you do some fundraising so that we can give you the money that you want. We'll negotiate, we'll talk about paying for your airline ticketing, etc. So the second time they came back to us, we told them the same thing. So that's where we're at right now.
15 seconds.
Exact line by line on that, I'll go by it really quick. For airfare, they wanted $1,660 for hotels, $2,318 for expenditures, including food and a $15 a day Metro Pass. They wanted $1,412, altogether totaling $5,380. That was the request from Big 12, and that was a decision that our committee had, and it's still up in the air in this instance.
All right, thank you very much. Starting out with Chair Fields.
This Fields, constituency affairs. How would you suggest for the Big 12 on the Hill that the four-day, three-night thing? How would you suggest that they raise money for that? I mean, are you going to provide them with an alternative solution?
Well, see, we actually talked about this. We wanted them to do some kind of fundraising initiative. We told them we'd work on different programs they could do. One of the ideas we had is they could make T-shirts to sell to SGA to support an SGA trip to go to Big 12 on the Hill. We said they could do profit shares, but they actually lined up a couple of profit shares that they're doing. So they're going to do those profit shares. They're planning on raising some money. And like I said, we're not at all opposed to funding Big 12 on the Hill, but we aren't comfortable funding a $5,300 program at the drop of the hat when we have other appeals coming in. So, I mean, that's basically the consensus that we came to. Mike, you want to take it?
Yeah, I also want to say, it was really important for us. We told baseball committees, we want to see what you can do this year. We want to see you fundraise yourself. We want to see you do something, just get your own money kind of thing. See where you can get it, see what you can do. Fish Age is a great example. We cut their budget a lot. And you know what? They responded. They did a fantastic job with that. But how can we go and say, tell our, hey, you know what? You can just wait and wait and wait, and then eventually we'll fund the entire thing. And it's not really fair to the other committees. So that's one of the reasons why I was very in favor of saying, hey, let's make them fundraise like the rest of them, because it wouldn't be fair to the other committees that we said, hey, fundraise yourself just to fund this entire $5,600 program.
Next, we have SVP of
Supervisor President Lovelace, given the amount of money we have available, and that the most expedient form of fundraising is to make requests to other university entities like the Association of Former Students Foundation, the President's Office, the Vice President's Office, and Student Activities, which is what is typically funded this trip. And given that they will likely not give us money knowing that we have it, how else are we going to come up with $5,000? I've never heard of a profit sharing.
Well, there are two things. One, last year somehow they came up with it. The year before somehow they came up with it. And two, we're willing to actually help them out on Big 12 on that. Let's get our money situation clarified though. We have $5,800 left from the original $45,000 that we were supposed to put out there. The rest of the money, this magical $11,000 number that you came up with, that's excess money left over from last year's budget that they did not spend. So total right now, we have spent exactly what we spent last year in every committee. So every committee has spent exactly what they'd already spent last year. So right now they have a really balanced budget. We're willing to move around this $5,800. We want to do it. We have appeals coming up. But we're not just going to throw $5,300 of it at a program that hasn't shown us that they're willing to put in work and do, put in some effort to show us that they're doing something.
Very much.
Point of information, Madam Speaker.
Okay, we're going to refer this back to the Appropriations Committee. Thank you, gentlemen. Go for
Point
it.
of information directed at, point of information, Madam Speaker, for SVP Lovelace.
Go for it.
Colin, can you tell me how many programs traditionally out of our budget we have funded that have benefited so few people with such a great amount of money? Like this. In other words, is there any precedent for funding a $5 million program plus $5,000?
If I may, one of the bills that this group is looking at lobbying for is the SAFRA Act, the SAFRA Student Affordability and some Financial Aid Act thing. I don't really know political stuff, SAFRA. And the whole point that they're lobbying is to increase Pell Grants, Perkins loans, and decrease the cost of workforce. Yes. This trip is specifically funded by student money.
All right. There you go. We're not moving on with this line of questioning.
Madam Speaker, I move to make this emergency legislation.
All right, it's moved, seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Sweet business. All right, because it is emergency legislation, without objection, we're going to move on with questions. If you still want to, Chair Rushcraft, 2 or 3 more minutes. All right. We have Chair Dick is the next person to ask questions.
Real quick, in regard
Mayor Dave, External Affairs Chair, real quick off campus topics. My question is in regards to fundraising and saving the money. If we do not spend this money, could this possibly be saved for in case situations get worse? Right now, the state of the economy isn't so bad for the state, but it has the potential to get worse. Can we save this money further for that rainy day and also allow to further fund programs that benefit more students?
You know, we've talked about, and Colin is very eloquent in describing all the extra rollover accounts that we have, et cetera. The $5,800, I'm extremely confident that we're gonna spend. We're gonna get to our $45,000, which is the amount that we're allocated for this year. Now that excess money was rollover from last year. That will remain in an account until we spend it. That money's not going anywhere. So if we decide not to spend that excess money, which is an extra $6,000 that rolled over from a lack of spending last year in the committees, that money will be there for next year. The $5,800 though, which I'm sure we're going to exceed, that money will roll back into the general ledger account. And the general ledger account is where everything's pulled out of. For instance, they pay all the administrators who work in the SGA department. It's a big pool of about $215,000. So we really want to spend, at the very least, that $5,800 this year, which I think we're going to do. If you look at this right here, it's already doing about half of that, and we got 3 appeals that are waiting on the doctor right now.
Next, we have Senator Davenport.
Senator Davenport, College of Education. Real quick question, so when is diversity set to have their event? Do you remember?
They gave us a vague date. I think they said end of February, beginning of March. If anyone wants to correct me on that, that's fine. Which is another reason why we wanted to make this emergency legislation. I know Big 12 on the Hill is something we definitely need to keep talking about, but this piece of legislation has nothing to do with that right now. This piece of legislation is getting diversity money so they can start working their Model UN program. The second thing it does is it gets EIC ready for their film festival, which comes up in I think 2 months. I think it's late April. So that's what this bill is doing right now. That's why we need to just pass this bill, and then we can get these committees their money, they can get the ball rolling.
All right, with the last question, Senator Harmon.
No question.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now move into a period of debate, starting with the pro side of this debate, Senator Cagle.
I guess my main, why I'm putting forth pass this bill is, really because I think, the money, that we have the money here for these programs, which is good. The main thing is we debated a lot about the Big 12 on the Hill. And I'm just gonna kinda go out there and say it, I'll do a debate, whether to put money into it or not. I think that's a big issue with this. Essentially the way I see it, it's almost kind of a $5,600 resume builder for about 5 people. Trying to get a lot done in Washington in about 4 days. Congress can't even get anything, small things done in months. I think there's a lot better ways it can be spent, and that's why I'm supporting passing this bill. And I yield the rest of my time to Chair Dickey.
Yes, I want to favor and encourage all of you to pass this bill for the reasons that we do need to get diversity of their money, EIC their money, so they can get these programs. If you don't like the fact that LR is not necessarily getting the money, I can understand where you feel on that, and that's fine. They need to go through the appeal process, and hopefully we might have another appropriations bill where we grant them some sort of funding. But however, we do need to get these committees that have gone through the appeals process and have, through that process, gotten their money to run these programs. And so by passing this bill, we allow these committees to get the ball rolling. And so that way these programs can get done at an expedient time. And I yield the rest of my time to Chair Fields.
Oh. Guess who? Constituency affairs. Briefly speaking, Grant Groskenbauer has done the best job of any budget chair the Senate has ever had. And I've seen a botched effort with the budget chair do, and Grant has not botched the effort. He is wise in how he is holding back some of this money. Colin has not seen what Grant has seen, and I wish, Colin, that you would consider this, but holding some of the money back does allow for initiatives that are truly deserving to be funded. If we had spent as much money as you wanted to spend, we might not be able to now have the flexibility to fund initiatives that are truly lacking in funding. And now we want to spend $5,300 on 5 people going to Washington, D.C. How do I sign up? So, we need to hold that back and allow for people to petition for money that they truly need. That's why this is a good bill. That's why Grant was a great budget chair. Pass this bill. Here.
All right, anyone against?
I think that was a previous question.
Second.
We're not speaking against, so we're going back to the floor debate, excuse me, voting. But thank you for your effort. I will now entertain a motion to have a voice call vote.
So
moved. I need the 1 6 second. Okay.
Don't you go roll call, please?
Alright, roll call vote. Please vote moved. I assume it's been properly seconded by you guys. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say
Nay.
nay. Alright, duly noted. We both want to do voice and roll call, so that's that.
Don't please compliment my boots.
Alright, thank you.
Chair Simmons.
4.
Chair Wilson.
4.
Chair Dick.
4.
Chair Webb. Chair Fields.
4.
Senator Robinson. Senator Robinson. Senator Hulscher. Senator Hulscher. Senator Oakson.
4.
Senator Poyer.
Against.
Senator Thornburg.
4.
Senator Atkins. 4. Senator Sinning. Senator, right, number off. Senator Beck. Senator Beck. Senator Smith. 4. Senator Thrani.
Yeah.
Senator Davenport.
4.
Senator Marengo. Senator Marengo. Senator Caroline Bowen.
4.
Senator Coleman. Senator Coleman. Senator Yagi. Senator Yagi.
4.
Senator Whittington.
4.
Senator Strickland.
4.
Senator Scott Bowen.
4.
Excuse me, Executive Director Bowen. Senator Smith. 4. Senator Rousseau. 4. Senator Petit.
4.
Senator Walker. Senator Walker. Senator Usher.
4.
Senator Cagle.
4.
Senator Lacy. Senator Lacy. Senator Bell. Senator Bell. Senator Fitz.
4.
Senator Caperton.
4.
Caperton or Captain? Caperton. Thank you. Senator Thomas.
4.
Senator Russell.
4.
Senator Tucker. Oh, that's right. Senator Griffin. Senator Sudan. Sudan. Senator Sudan. Senator Hassan.
4.
Senator Becerra.
4.
Senator Ibrahim. Senator Ibrahim. Senator Albright.
4.
Senator Thompson.
4.
Senator Herman.
4.
Senator Slack.
4.
Senator Rogers.
4.
Senator Boulder.
4.
Senator Humanek. Senator Humanek. Senator Egerbrecht.
4.
Senator Messer.
4.
Senator McDuffie.
4.
Senator Parsons.
4.
Chair Grosvenor.
4.
Senator Rhodes.
4.
Senator Anderson.
4.
Senator Brownell. Senator Brownell. Senator Crumpley.
4.
Senator Grouch. Senator Grouch. Senator Ledger. Senator Ledger. Senator Esparza.
4.
Awesome. We're gonna keep moving on to the Student Senate Outreach Bill.
Real quick, can I ask the officials that we're working on a similar bill, that I'm proposing, can y'all come up here because I feel guys, basically, what this bill does, is it outlines a process for us to talk to students. It mandates that every, senator, goes out and talks to students for at least 1 hour per week. Let's say, Chair Dick, wants to go talk to students. He has 2 options where he can go. He can either go to Academic Plaza, or he can go to, or you're a liberal arts major, poli-sci major, there we go. So he can go to the Allen Building and talk to students there. Senator Strickland can go to Zachary or the Mechanical Engineering Building. And so on and so forth, that's all the process. Also, one of,
Stay in order on campus.
that I'm most proud of this bill, is, it's some bureaucracy, but it's good bureaucracy, I promise. Whenever we go talk to students, we'll have a piece of paper, and students put their name, UIN, all that good stuff, and then what they came to talk to you about and any other concerns they might have. And then at the end of the day, we'll compile those and we'll give them to Jess. And Jess will have all of the, hopefully a large stack of papers and a lot of data to go and say, you know, we had 50 students last Friday that came to talk to Daniel, and they really had a problem with dining. And so that gives us a foot to stand on, gives us a tad bit more legitimacy as a group, to where we can say, this is legitimate student opinion that we've gotten, and here's the papers to prove it. So I think this is a really good bill that's going to propel us into being a more accessible student organization. And I think that it's going to bring good benefits to us as far as our relationship with students. And now I will say, did y'all have anything else that y'all want to add?
Basically, like Colin stated earlier, and so did Senator Herman, the Senate really just needs to reach out more, and I don't think, I mean, we're here to represent the student body, so there should be no votes against this bill. Really, we're just trying to reach out, and that's what we're all signed up here for. That's what we all campaigned for or filled out a form for and had some interviews for. So really, it's just there to reach out to the student body.
Yeah, two problems we had in the student senate last year was approval ratings and whether we had good student opinion or not, and it solves both those problems.
And guys, students took the time out of their day to click on your name, whether they meant to or not, so, we can take the time to go talk to them. I think that this will be, really good.
All right, we're going to move into questions, starting with Senator Pitts.
Yes, sir. So I think this is a really interesting idea, but I'm just curious, how do you plan on enforcing the requirements?
That is a very good idea. That's something that's a very good question. Sorry, not an idea. That's actually something that I've been trying to figure out, because we can't very well have Michelle or Kyle running across campus to make sure that Senator Pitts went and oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we're planning on changing the bylaws so it's required for senators to do it. That way also, when you sign up to be a senator, you sign up to help students and you sign up to get their opinion. And I'm not saying not all you'll do your jobs, but it requires senators to do their jobs. Okay.
But as far as enforcement goes, we're still trying to outline it. And we still have to, we're toying with the idea, and actually we're going to do it, add absences. So if you don't go to your office out, your outreach hours, then you get a fraction of an absence.
All right.
Senator Thornburg.
Senator Thornburg Holmes, I know I'd be wary of giving out my UIN to some random senator that I probably didn't know if I wasn't in the Senate. Don't y'all feel that would be the same way with the generic public?
Yeah, I agree. Maybe UN wasn't a good descriptor for me to use as a part of the we haven't drafted it at all, the actual form. So, yeah, that's probably something we'll leave on. Good point. Thank you.
Senator Russo.
Do you think that this could possibly create, or Senator Russo, College of Engineering, do you think that this could possibly create like a paperwork backlog for a lot of senators, especially if we're the kind of senator that's going to go in front of like a 300-person class and say, you know, talk to me afterwards because you've got this issue coming up in the Senate. And just managing that amount of paperwork can be a lot. And I've had experience in areas that happens, and it tends to create an administrative hassle. Have you considered a way of managing this amount of paperwork?
I mean, I have. And if that happens, I think that that's a good thing. If we have too many things for us to actually analyze, that's good. That means we have a lot of students. So,
Madam Speaker, I move to extend question and answer to a period of 2 minutes.
Yeah, Speaker will hear this motion, but I would also advise that this is going to be sent to a committee and worked on. So we can ask the questions there. I think that for a second. So we're going to move this on to R&R. All right, next we have the Texas A&M Q drop policy bill, SB 10 S45. Would the bill authors please come up? Okay, Ags, keep in order.
Okay, so basically it's just a bill asking the amount of Q drops be increased from 3 to 6. Right now, the state of Texas allows universities to have 6 Q drops max, but Texas A&M University has capped ours at 3, whereas other schools in the state have gone ahead and allowed the max of 6. So we're just asking if that number be increased to the state max of 6 Q drops.
Alright, awesome. We'll start out with Chair Simmons.
Does this deal at all with freshman grade solutions? Because I know that part of the reason why we have only 3 Q drops is because we have freshman grade solutions as well. So what are y'all doing on that front? And what have they said about the 6 Q drops?
Before this bill, we wanted to do something great, but it's good, like perhaps change the policy a little bit, not
is.
Yeah, the problem with the freshman grade exclusion policy was that because it's just a school policy and not a state, it's really hard to make the changes we want to make to get the grades excluded off the transcript. Rather just replace with a symbol like they do for the Q drops. Because it is a state policy, school policy, not a state policy, it wouldn't let us mess with the transcript. So we went ahead and just went ahead to go for the Q drops instead.
What kind of information?
Alright, just wanted to make it safe, freshman grade exclusion has nothing to do with drops.
Totally noted. All right, moving on. Chair Grosskopf.
Do other institutions in Texas also offer freshman?
Please stand. Is it a point of information?
Sorry. Do other institutions in Texas also offer freshman grade exclusion?
I'm not sure about that at the moment. No, they do not. Chair Wayne. Next, going to Chair Grosskopf.
Just real quick question. You mentioned other peer institutions. You were kind of comparing your studies here to aside from like tech and other institutions that aren't really where we're at. What's UT's policy on Q drops? How many do they allow? And maybe other peer institutions like that.
The other school in Austin allows the max of 6.
They allow
The state
6.
allows 6.
Next, we have Senator
What problems do you foresee going from 3 Q drops to 6? That's a huge increase of 2 drops.
One of the original things was, we felt like they capped it at 3 to the school because they didn't have the freshman grade exclusion policy. So if we did want to go up to 6, we were talking about maybe decreasing or getting rid of the freshman grade exclusion policy, which are actually not amazing, because the Q drops are a lot better, because they actually remove the grades from the transcript, so it doesn't come back to haunt you later on.
Also, we think that adding more Q drops would, instead of making problems, it might increase problems from students who want to apply to medical school or professional schools or law schools. They can come related with the other students that are good at UC or
Thank you very much. All right. Senator Rhodes, the last question.
Senator Rhodes, up here. Have you guys talked to any of the administrators about this as to why there's 3 and 3 versus a total of 6 Q drops?
We've organized or set up the meetings with the faculty senate members on the academic affairs committee. We just want to make sure the bill got to the committee first before we appoint them, so we have something concrete talking about. We're just looking at the committee first, and then we'll be talking about it once we have something concrete to talk to them about.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move this to the AA committee. Next, we have the evening exam bill, SB 10 S46. All right, we'll begin when you're ready.
Howdy.
Howdy.
I'm waiting for the bill stuff. Basically,
Stay in order. Senator Strickland?
for the last couple of years I've been at this school, we've had a lot of evening exams, and it seems to me that they're getting more and more common in classes, and it's getting to the point where they're interfering with not only extracurricular activities, but sometimes they conflict with each other, sometimes they're conflicting with labs. It seems like a lot of students have a problem with this. So what I want to work on is a way to either decrease the number of evening exams, make it so that they only do them if they're absolutely necessary and they can't be done in class, or that if they have to be done, the professors will give students options so that they don't have to miss important extracurricular activities, they don't have to miss their labs to go to them. And it's almost gotten to the point. I have a professor of management who didn't even want to give evening exams, but his department head told him that he had to, and he's giving the next day of class off, to make up for it, and even though they can be done in class. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. I had to miss 3 Senate meetings last semester, or I had to be very late to them because I had evening exams. This is a problem and it needs to be dealt with.
You ready now? Yes. All right, thank you very much. We'll start out with Senator Smith.
Senator Smith, College of Engineering. I agree with you. I hated exams, evening exams also, but have you talked to administrators of why these exams are in the evening?
Not yet, but I plan to, and this is the first reading, so I'm just kind of throwing this out to hopefully kind of open the doorway to those conversations.
All right, next we have Senator Melcher.
Senator Helcher told us, Scott, I guess this is kind of brought up with the fact that these exams do interfere with students. But have you talked like, I'm pretty sure it's also brought up because we're in the same class, you know, more like management. But did you talk to like the department heads and see why they're doing this? And also, did you consider including putting in this bill that the faculty make it mandatory next class a day off to make up for having to late exam? instead of having to after?
Well, that's kind of the same question that the previous questioner was getting at, Mr. Smith, or Senator Smith. This is a first reading, so I'm hoping that putting this bill out there will kind of open up those doors so I can have those conversations with administrators and with the committee. And I'm not going to include a provision in there myself that they have to give the next day off. One of the reasons I've seen that just in my experience that people do evening exams is because the exam can't fit in the time of the class, and besides, we're paying for the classes. So you pay the same amount no matter how much class you take. So it makes sense to want to go to class as much as possible, as weird as that sounds. If someone wants to amend that in, that's fine, but I'm not going to put it in myself.
Alright, who's the last question?
You just answered my question.
Alright, we'll go to, let me see. Senator, yeah, sure, wait. No, actually Senator Boyd, sorry.
I'll yield if that's possible for
Go for it.
everybody wants to.
Okay, that way, off campus, you said that it would be okay, or you think it would be okay in certain, like situations where they were absolutely necessary to hold evening exams? Do you have any ideas on what kind of reasons those would be?
Well, the biggest reason I can think of is that the exam is too long to fit in the class period. I had a 3-hour engineering exam once that we had to do on Saturday during final exams. So I mean that can happen sometimes. Maybe we should include Saturday just by the way. But that's one reason I can think of. Maybe the professor is gone that day and they can't get it. I mean, there are legitimate reasons for doing them. But what we're trying to cut down on is when they just do them just for the sake of having evening exams.
Alright, thank you very much. We'll now move on to SB 10S47, Bill Author and Committee Standardization Bill. Oh, sorry, right, committee. Alright, next one.
Alright, this is a bill that I actually wrote this during the last meeting, and I had hoped to bring it up during that open session for a couple of reasons. Basically, what this bill says, this bill does not change anything. All it does is it makes clear some procedures that we already have in the bylaws that aren't really clear right now. This says that any student can be credited as the author of a bill, and that they can come before the Senate and present their bill, but they have to have at least one co-sponsor who is a senator. So for instance, the example that comes to mind is the outreach bill. I know the Fish Aids have been working on that for a long time, and they went to Senator Davenport to actually propose a bill. And so under this bill, the Fish Aids could be credited as authors, and Senator Davenport could be a co-sponsor, or just however they wanted to do that. And it also lets people, if the author of a bill is a member of SGA, then it lets them have their title on the bill as well. So if our student advocate over here, Conrad Johnson, wanted to write a bill, then he could be credited as student advocate Conrad Johnson on the bill and write it. And he could get anyone to co-sponsor it, and then he would be given automatic speaking privileges to present his bill with the senator who co-sponsored it. So it basically just opens up the avenues for legislation. The other thing this does is that it standardizes the committee process to where if an amendment is made to a bill during a committee in the formal way, so if someone moves to amend a bill in committee, it cannot be changed back by the author without, I think I included some out in here, where if it's not a substantial change, if it's something like grammar or something, but in order to undo that change, they would have to do it before the full Senate. This prevents people from having changes to their bills they don't like in committee and then just simply undoing them and pretending they never happened. So And that's basically what this bill does.
Alright, is that? Alright, open for questions? Alright, we will move to, do you have questions, Chairperson? Alright, go for it.
Grant Brooks, Square off campus. Do you think this bill might be flirting with the separation of powers clauses that we have, and that anybody can present a bill if Joey wants to stand up and just hammer us with 5 or 6 bills, or if anybody in the exec council? I mean, do you think that might be flirting with the privilege that we have as senators to present bills?
No, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the sponsor. Any senator can be a sponsor on a bill, but you have to remember, right now, anyone can write a bill. Like any person. This makes it so that that person can be credited as an author of the bill. And then when we look back 5 years later, we can see like who really wrote this and stuff. And a senator still has to co-sponsor it. Our Chief Justice can't just like throw bills at us. But there may be something that he really wants to do, and so this gives him the option to do that.
A real quick, brief follow-up. Real quick. Since someone else is presenting the bill besides the senator in this case, does that mean that they'll be able to give a presentation that precludes the bill?
Yes, that means that
So they'll have complete speaking privileges, et cetera.
For presentation and question and answer, and it makes it very clear that they cannot participate in debate. Only senators can do debate.
Alright, thank you very much, Senator Smith.
Senator Smith, College of Engineering. Would this also allow, if I remember correctly, authors of the bill have to be at the committees, correct?
Yes.
Would a student, now as technically an author, would the senator also have to be at the committee meetings? Does that make sense?
I'm actually not sure. So yeah, that's something we'll look at in the Rules and Regulations Committee. That's an interesting question.
Assuming it's, okay, alright, Chair Dick.
Yes, Chair Michelle Fair Chair. My question is in regards to basically, how would this minimize the role of the Senate?
It would not. The senator would still be part of the presentation. If he wanted to be an author, then he could still be an author. You know, if a senator is the author of the bill, then there doesn't have to be a co-sponsor, and it makes that clear. So the senator can have as much or as little role as they want to. This just, and that's already the way it is.
Alright, anyone else? Alright, thanks again. We'll now move on to the next, piece of legislation, renewal. Oh, sorry, it goes R&R. Alright, SB 10S48, renewal of expired legislation bill.
Alright, this bill, also simplifies the process for something we can argue. What are you doing? Oh, I guess so.
Stay in order.
Okay, he's on the bill too.
Who is he?
Senator Moore. Anyway, this simplifies the process for passing a bill that has expired in the last session. For those of you who didn't know, every bill that is passed and enacted in this session expires when we hit the joint session date, and basically is not in force for the next session. So what this will do is this will allow people to make a simple motion. They would have to notify the speaker on the Friday beforehand to renew a bill from the last session that was passed. And it would automatically create a bill that is a renewed version of the old bill and adds them as a co-sponsor, and then they can bring it up without having to go through the committee process, without having to write it all over. Just it can be voted on and kind of done with. And this is important for things like the Joe Route bill. If that is to pass, that issue is not going to be over at the end of this year. So when we go into next year, instead of making someone write a completely new bill to do it, we can just renew the old one and continue as we were doing before.
All right, we got time here. Give me a second. I'm going to give it to Senator Usher. That's fine.
Why can't we just copy and paste the old bill and use it in the new session? Because things change from year to year, so the opinion of students in the 62nd session might not be the opinion in the 63rd session.
Right, and that's a good point. You can do that, and we already can do that, and this bill doesn't change really anything we can't already do. This just simplifies the process. You can get it done in one meeting. And really what I'm envisioning here is that at probably the second or third meeting of the session in the fall, or in the spring, people actually renew all of the bills that we think should be carried over. So, this simplifies the process. It doesn't make you go through a committee again, because the purpose of the committee is to make sure a bill is fit to be passed to begin with. So obviously, if it was passed in a previous session, then it is fit to be passed. Now, amendments can be made on the floor to a bill that's being renewed, but those have to be formal amendments, and you can't do it yourself. So, and you can't renew a renewed bill. Like, you have to go back to the old one.
All right. Any other questions? This one's going to RR. Next, we have SB 10, S51, the increased use of electronic, SB 10, S49, new Senator Development Day bylaws bill.
Alright, this bill is very simple. What it does is new senators, after they get elected, before the officer elections, the old officers, if they're not elected in the new session, will be required to put on a development day for the new senators to explain Arlington procedure, officer election procedure, and just in general housekeeping rules to kind of help bring the new senators and everybody in.
Smith, did you have a question? All right, Chair Davis.
Chairman, Mr. Fair Chair. Could this possibly be used though as a method of campaign?
Which is exactly why senators who are elected in the new session are not allowed to be part of the presentation. They have to sit just like they would be as a new senator. So for me, I'm graduating, I am not seeking re-election. I would be able to do it, but if somebody wanted to, like Tanner, who's a sophomore, wanted to be in the new session, he would not be able to be up here at all, giving a presentation or anything like that, specifically for that reason.
Is that a question or is that?
No, I was writing out LOL.
Oh, okay. Chairman's laughing out loud. Any other questions? Senator Bowen.
Kind of along those lines, how would you prevent last year's officers from perhaps picking out who they wanted to succeed then, and then kind of influencing new senators to make sure they were elected? Like, I guess.
Elected?
Yeah.
This is after they've all been elected.
This is after all officers.
Oh, you're saying elected officers. Okay. That's something we'll look at in our committee.
Thank you.
All right, we have Senator Usher.
Computer sciences, I don't know, whatever the last enacted clause says, if there's, all the officers are returning, there's no development. Can we add something that addresses that problem?
That's something we're also looking at. I couldn't come there and stop that.
This is Senator William.
Justin, William Coles, do you think there's something to, or I guess the first question is, when exactly would you want this to take place? And then secondly, do you think there's something to, jumping into something and learning as you go, instead of just being spoon-fed right from the beginning?
Yes, there is something to that, but I think as a body it severely hinders us. I mean, I know as a new senator, I was completely lost for like a month and a half or 2 months. This way we would have new senators be able to jump right in and know what they're doing, and be able to participate a little bit better, and not be worried about embarrassing themselves or anything like that. And also the timing issue, the first part of your question, hopefully after elections, before the first meeting where they elect officers. So that's somewhere in that time frame, it would be charged. And the details we're gonna work out now. One thing I'll let you all know.
Thanks.
Senator Bowen.
Senator Caroline Bowen, Education. First of all, I think this is a great idea because this is the first time I've been able to stand and say anything. And possibly I think that a great thing that would happen is if maybe you do this after the first meeting, because then you get the hang of it and you kind of hear the lingo, and I think that might be something to take into consideration. So people can hear the verbiage and all of that, and they kind of get adjusted, because if you do it before, you're kind of like, well, okay.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. And also that would stop the election, officer election. We'll look at that part.
Alright, awesome, thank you very much, sir. We'll move that to the Care Committee. Yes. Time to be expired. Go to the RR meeting, they're very fun, exciting, I've been to a couple of them. Alright, SB 10, S51, increased use of electronic textbooks. With the votes bill, authors, please come on down.
charge the student regent to charge it to us and figure out what student opinion is. There's a bill, so we can look up, find student opinion. Basically, textbooks are expensive, sometimes they're hard to get, so if we get them from the publisher online, they're not only green, but they're cheaper and they're easier to access.
All right, anyone else want to add to that, or we? All right, starting with questions, we'll start out with, Senator Ibrahim.
Is this bill gonna kind of mandate that they should do this?
All it's doing is asking that we increase their usage of electronic textbooks wherever possible. So it doesn't mandate, it just pushes that initiative. We'll look at that part.
Awesome, Senator Molnar.
On campus. I just had a question. I was wondering if you had looked into the actual bill in our state government right now, because I'm fairly certain that the initiative they're pushing with the online textbooks would require that the state buy the licensing rights, which would then mean that the university, the professors at a public institution would have to get their books from a list determined by the state, and therefore the professors wouldn't have the choice to necessarily choose whatever book they wanted or the book that they wrote. And I don't want to get caught in a position where we're pushing this thing that we think is really awesome when in reality it might not be that awesome. So I just
We haven't had a chance to look into it.
Right,
We'll
and
go over it.
I'm sure you will, but I just want to give you a little heads up. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next we have Speaker Pro Tem Womack.
Howdy, Calvin, did you guys coordinate with the battalion today, or did it happen to be
No, that just happened.
Free?
Yeah.
Next we have Senator Williams.
Justin Floyd, Coles, is on the list, but I do have a question. If I were to come to your committee, would you be opposed, or would y'all be opposed to friendly amending, maybe changing the NACA clause to read something like supports any efforts to increase an option to use electronic textbooks wherever possible? Alright, sounds good, thank you.
Next we have Senator Bowen.
Scott Bowen, I'm College of Engineering. This is gonna sound a little ridiculous, but it is kind of important. But when you say at the bottom, efforts to increase the use of electronic textbooks wherever possible, you kind of I mean, I don't see it being used badly, but you kind of open the door to, what if they wanted to charge $100 student fee to open the textbooks or something. So, is there any way you can think of to clarify that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. That's all the time we have for questions for that. And just to give you a little history on what's going on here, this is something I talked to AAEP about at the last meeting that they had. And this was handed to us by the student regent Hunter Coleman. The student regents are coming together and voting on what they want to move to, what student opinion is as a whole for Texas. So we really do, I mean, I'm not trying to put pressure on the AAEP, but we do get an opinion in 2 weeks, so that way he can represent us properly. So just to give you guys some context. Moving on, we're now moving to SB 10, S52, Automated Experimental Defibrillator Replacement Bill.
Howdy. Howdy. First, I want to give a howdy to former Speaker Cody Basuk, who's watching us right now. And basically the idea of this bill, this actually came to me directly from a constituent, and we sat down and we typed this bill out together. When she was in high school, they lost a fellow band member at a practice in Arizona, and a defibrillator could have saved his life. So this is kind of a pet issue of hers, which is why she brought it to me. I don't know how many of you notice that in almost every public building on campus, there's a little blue box somewhere on the wall that says AED on it. And if you don't know what an automated external defibrillator is, it's just like clear shock, just like in the movies, except that's not how it happens. But the training to use a defibrillator is now included with all CPR courses, including those offered at the Student Recreation Center. So anyone who is CPR certified is, by extension, certified in the use of a defibrillator. And there are medical situations where CPR is not enough to resuscitate the patient. Sometimes you need the assistance of a defibrillator, which, again, is why they're in most public buildings on this campus, possibly all. I know there's state law mandating them in, for instance, high schools. But they are notably lacking in all of the residence halls. We don't have defibrillators. And when you think about where do students who live on campus spend most of their time, they spend most of their time in a residence hall. Most accidents happen in the home. So anyways, there is a cost associated with it. When she and I sat down and did some ballpark figures, it came out to about $1 or $2 per student per semester to have these included in all of the dorms. That's a very rough estimate. Really, that's about all. Oh, and we also encourage in the enacted clauses that all resident advisors and other appropriate RA staff, residence life staff, be they hall directors, et cetera, that they all be required to go through CPR certification, which is offered through the Student Recreation Center. And that concludes my presentation.
Awesome, starting with Senator Rhodes.
Senator Rhodes off campus. Tanner, how many AEDs are we talking? What's the cost gonna be, and exactly where's the location gonna be at?
Okay, all three are good questions. A defibrillator, a regular consumer defibrillator costs about $1,500 to $2,000. I would assume that we could get some sort of a discount for such a bulk order. Also, it's notable that that the American Heart Association suggests that you have a physician overseeing the purchase for quality control purposes. And like I said, paying out the cost of the defibrillators in every dorm over 3 years, which I saw as a good estimate of the lifetime of the defibrillator. Ballpark estimates come out to about $1 or $2 per student per semester. And where would they be located is also a great question. I would say on the wall right outside a resident advisor's room, or potentially in a hall office if there is one, as I know there are in lodging doors.
All right, next we have Senator Ewing.
I don't know how hard, like, if you ever lived on campus and had to find an RA to get an extra key to lock yourself out, but it's always difficult. Like, even if they're on call, it's always difficult. So are you demanding that all the RAs be, trained in the defibrillator? It's gonna be kind of useless sitting there if, they split their duty or whatever.
Right. I can answer that in two parts. One, we just think it's kind of common sense that the resident advisors be trained in CPR. And there may be legal issues surrounding that. I can't remember. I remember Senator Lacey brought that up in a student services meeting way back. But then as to the access, access to the defibrillator would not be restricted to a resident advisor. It would be any first responder could get the defibrillator from its position on the wall. So that anyone who is CPR certified could grab the defibrillator and use it.
All right, this will be sent to the SS committee. Awesome. All right, we're now going to move into executive reports. Colin, I'm going to jump ahead of you if you don't mind to do the survey. Yeah, Senator Roney.
How's the bill for? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it now. Wait a little longer. Alright, do you have any emails though, or do you have it? Anyone else has open session bills, get this on here. Alright, I can explain. Stay in order. Off campus. Senator Boulder, up off me. Olds.
Okay, so this bill is basically called the reimbursement of Mays differential tuition fee. Next slide, please.
Point of order, to put this on the docket, we have to
Oh,
have.
yeah, that's right, we have to have 2 sentence explanation of what you're doing and then we have to vote.
Okay, this is basically a bill that encourages the administration of Texas A&M to reimburse the differential tuition fee to Mays Business School students who were charged the differential tuition fee before spring 2010, but were not enrolled in an upper level business major at the time.
Alright, all in favor of those items in this agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Alright, let's go with it.
Okay, so let's give you a background of what the differential tuition fee is. Basically, it's a $610 tuition fee charged to full-time juniors and seniors starting from fall 2008, and part-time juniors and seniors would pay the differential tuition fee on a per credit hour basis as I stated with the opposite example. Next one, please. And seniors who recall 2008 and spring 2008 semester were only charged the differential fee for half of it because they would not reap the full 2-year benefits. Yes. And what was the main purpose of charging the differential tuition fee? It was to reduce the class size, so that was primarily for the upper level courses. So how is the differential tuition fee charged currently? So starting from spring 2010, the Mays Business School has started charging differential tuition fee only to those students who are enrolled in an upper level major. And prior to the spring 2010 semester, it was charged not based on whether you are in an upper level business major or not, but rather based on when you hit your junior credit hour number. So, even if you're not enrolled in any upper level courses, no matter what class you were in, you would still charge the $610 if you're full time and part time if whatever credit hours you were taking. So why have I brought this topic up? Because students have been complaining that they want a reimbursement on the tuition fee, and obviously as a senator I am supposed to represent their opinions over here. And yes, because the differential tuition fee system was changed in spring 2010, it clearly implies that the previous system was unfair, even though it hasn't been clearly stated, but it implies that. And lastly, last slide. Okay, and I bring this up because I believe that this also fits in the situations, or fits in very importantly with the Texas A&M core value. Because, as I've stated, it's about integrity and respect the situation more than anything else. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
We are going to go into questions, starting with Chair Simmons.
Thank you. Chair Simmons, Rules, Regulations, and Business. So I just had a question about this. First off, if you could elaborate a little bit more on how they changed it, and also at the same time, I think that's exactly well. Are we even able to go back and refund them this stuff? Because I know that we talked a little bit about this. And also, how can we look towards changing this in the future for like fall and spring next year, towards working to something like they pay for how many hours they're taking, since we eventually all take the same roughly amount of hours of business school. How can we change this to where we pay for it whenever we use it?
Basically, this answering your first question, how it has been changed. So now, as I said, charges you if you are enrolled in an upper level business major, that would be accounting, management, or any of the 5 or 6 majors that we have. And what was your second question?
How was it specifically that question? How was it before they changed that?
How was it charged on what basis? So basically, it's 60 credit hours if you're a junior. So as soon as you hit the 60 credit hour mark, you would just be billed for the differential tuition fee. If you're a full-time student, it was $610, and if you're a part-time student, depending on how many credit hours you were taking, you would get charged for that. And that was irregardless of the fact whether you're taking upper-level courses or whether you're enrolled in an upper-level business major.
To answer your question real quick, just to give you a little bit more background on that. How they're doing it right now is that if you call them up and say you're not doing upper level courses, you can get an asterisk or something like that, and they will opt you out of making sure you pay the fee. Talking to Dean Strauser, he wants to make it to where you charge by course, but at the time it was easiest when they first started differential tuition to pass it to the Board of Regents by doing U3 or U4. But that's something that they are looking into because people are complaining.
So how likely is it that we can kind of add an active clause at the end of this that says something like, we would like to see it charged by credit hour or something like that? Or how many classes you're taking, rather than just a blanket $800.
I think that would be a great addition to different bill, because the purpose of this bill is reimbursement and not about how we would use it in the future. So probably a different bill might be there.
Any more questions? Alright, thank you very much, gentlemen. This will be referred to both the SS and A. Awesome, we're now, any more open session bills? Alright, I will do my executive report. Alright, we have for you today, guys, a survey. It is on the external affairs bill that we passed not too long ago, the non-voting student member to city council. So we're going to have you guys fill it out independently, and so it's going to look like this. Fantastic. If you look at it, can we get those passed out ASAP? Alright, while they're passing that out, I'll make a few more announcements. Tomorrow at 3:30, we'll be going to the City Hall to speak at the City Council workshop on whether or not we want the non-voting student member to City Council. So I encourage you guys to be there.
Or you can watch on Channel 19 for those of you that have Sunlink cable.
Yes, Channel 19. If you're not there, then we really need you to be at the tuition hearing that's going on in Rudder 601 at 3 p.m. They're going, both Student Body President Lovelace and President Lofton, sole finalist, will be presenting their take on tuition and all the options that we have, and that will be presented to the Board of Regents. So please make sure that you guys do that. All right, just to explain this, hey, stay in order.
I misspelled progress, I don't.
Yeah, you did. Anyways, option one. I'm going to explain all these options. You can continue to vote if you want to. Please be aware that this is all going to be open record and anyone can see your vote. And if you don't want to vote because of that, feel free not to vote. That is your right. First one is an executive appointment selected by the president and confirmed by Senate. Pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have a Senate appointment, basically the external affairs and the Senate office soon will get together to make sure that they appoint someone, and then they'll bring it to the floor, and you guys will confirm them, and that person will be the city council member. Next is a joint appointment with using this, both Senate and exec members will sit on a board and select a nominee, and then the Senate will confirm them. Option number 4, if you don't like any of these crazy ideas, or great ideas, excuse me, come up with your own, and we'd love to hear about it. We'll be writing this piece of legislation pretty soon, and it's going to be in the EA committee, but we kind of need to work rapidly on this in order to make sure that we do not lose our opportunity to get this position. So your votes are really important to us in deciding on where we want to go in the future. So thanks, and give them.
Please remember the survey is in no way binding. So.
Yeah, no way binding. Yeah, if you want to change your vote later on, go for it. All right, any questions? Questions?
I'm done. Hold your hands.
All right, sit it down for it.
Why is a direct student vote not an option?
What?
A direct student vote.
Okay, just to answer, the question was why a direct student vote is not an option. The city council has jumped on that idea. They do not want it to be a political thing. They want it to be more of a tool to help them create policy. So they feel that it would be too much. Senator Herman.
Did you say the tuition meeting was tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Rudder 601. And it's going to last 2 hours? Roughly 2 hours. And it's going to be streamed live and all that fun stuff, so I'm sure MVP Lovelace will come up and tell you all about it. Senator Garani.
I was just curious, Senate filling in the survey or the branch?
Senate is, because we're the ones that's going to be legislating, and they're going to, the executive branch, and even if the judicial wants to see it, they can go for it. Anyone else?
Any outstanding ballots?
Okay, Senator Parsons?
Yeah, one question about it. However we decide,
Hold on, everyone stay in order.
however we decide to, pick out this person, it shouldn't be some big secret that Senate has that we get to get this non-voting member of city council. We need to make sure that, you know, even though city council doesn't want a
Guys.
statewide election,
Please stop talking.
the students should still know that the people they put in Senate or, you know, the eventual exec council and all that, student body president, will be making these decisions for them so that they can take it into account when choosing their senators and student body president and all that. You know, the whole idea that, oh, we don't want the students picking this person, it's gonna happen one way or another. We need to let them know. We need to make sure that the students can say, you know, oh, among all these other things you're doing, you're also going to be picking this non-voting council member. So the students need to be involved one way or another.
I think that's an excellent point. That's something we're going to, hopefully, if we have this bill passed, by the time voting happens, they will be able to know by that because we'll have, battalion coverage. And also, like I said, hopefully be passed before the students, elect. I know it won't happen before we file, which is next week. Mark your calendar, it starts February 1st.
May I respectfully suggest that if we all register to vote and get out and organize, that perhaps not only can we have a non-voting member, but indeed also voting member.
You may suggest that. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say that, like, the city council's kind of bent over backwards for this, non-voting seat, but want to really upset them.
Yes, we do not want to upset anyone. At very least the city council. Anyone else with questions or statements on that? All right, the city council presentation will be given by Chair Dick and newly confirmed CR, SACR. So they'll be giving that presentation. It's a 10 to 15 minute presentation. Unlike our presentations, the council can interrupt you at any time, keep you guessing, and ask you questions. I don't know because you don't have speaking privileges. Anyways, it's an interesting situation, so hopefully we'll be able to keep on track and keep going, but overall it'll be a 15-minute presentation. And if you have, if you want to see the presentation, I know I do. Good. I'll send it out ASAP. Senator Smith.
I have a question. Sorry, Senator Smith. Question going back to the text presentation.
Yes.
Will that be online?
Yes, it will be online. Senator Pulliam, can we get that online if I send it to you?
Sure will tonight.
Awesome. Might not be tomorrow, might be tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it'll be in the morning, early morning though. Very early.
I have a date after this, but we will see what we do with that. Senator Grossenbauer?
If I heard correctly, you committed to going to this meeting tomorrow, so you can help them with the presentation, put it together.
I have all the, I've been helping them prep for it, but I have all the faith in the world that Daniel and Tucker can get this done. I'll be there for moral support, and if the city council has questions, so that's.
That tone was kind of.
I don't believe in like micromanaging my officers, so they did a good job. Anyone else? Sweet business, fun big down floor here with you guys. All right, let's give you a moment. All yours.
We, the students of Texas A&M, in order to provide an officially recognized student organization that identifies and represents student interests, promotes student participation in the overall policy and decision-making process, enhances the quality and scope of education in the university, and promotes the general welfare of the student bodies, do hereby establish this Constitution. That's the opening line to our Constitution. From there, it goes to spell out what each branch does. In particular, the executive branch is charged with enacting the legislation of the Student Senate and enacting that mission. I can't do that right now because there are some things that we need that we don't have. For one, Big 12 on the Hill. We need that funding. And I'm going to tell you there's a couple reasons why it's really important that we have that funding. Number one, I heard it said this was a resume builder for 5 students. And while that's a very cynical thing to say, and
Point of order,
there
man.
may be some
I
points.
did not say resume builder.
No one said that you said it, and you're extremely out of order.
No one else said that.
Someone else
This
said
trip is in coordination with 12 other schools from several other states across the middle of this country, representing over 200,000 students. They will be lobbying, most likely on behalf of their financial aid and scholarships, to make sure that students can afford to go to school. I believe that fits our mission very well. I believe this is a good trip. I believe this is something that benefits our student body greatly. I spoke on the phone with Representative Chet Edwards' office this morning. He said one of the most important things when we're talking to a group is that they're a constituent, they know their information about their bill, which this group does, and in this case, that it impacts them as a student. We needed funding. This trip has been being planned, in fact, since last April. It's an annual event. Logan Nichols has been working on this since I appointed him, and you confirmed him in September. We made an initial request for funding through the first appropriations process. And then shortly after that appropriations process, we made another request for funding. Along with EIC and diversity, both of those committees had their requests in by November. Mr. Groskebauer, I don't know why we just found out about this today. I don't know why my LR people don't know whether or not they're going to get funding until January for a trip in April that they've been planning since September. I need you to respond to emails, sir. I need you to respond to questions. We are too deep in this to pull out now. We are too deep in this to go ask for funding from other groups because we have it sitting in the bank. Now you tell me that there are other groups asking for money and there's a plan for this. I don't see a plan. I've been waiting to see something in the form of appropriations for several months. So if we don't have a plan by February 24th, we're in a lot of trouble. This trip is already in a lot of trouble. It's probably going to cost us more to do it. So that's important. Please, since you're listening to me and I'm giving you my executive report, enable us to fulfill our mission and to do this job. Because it's not a waste of money. $5,800 that could save students on the order of billions. That to me is a fair cost, and I challenge the Senate as a whole to help us fulfill our obligation to do so. Aside from that, tomorrow is the designated two-issue hearing. 3 p.m. Router 601, your speaker's already mentioned it. This is important, obviously, as we're going through state cuts, tuition increase, and dealing with that. We need students there, we need student feedback. The more we can make it, the better. It will be streaming live online. The details are in Dr. Locke's email that went out on Tuesday. It will also be archived, so if you're in class, you can respond to it later and want as much information as possible. There's another thing that I need from this group. I need all the legislation that we've passed. I need a list of it. Because there isn't one that exists right now. So I can't report and tell you what we've done with all of them. I can tell you in general. You can ask me a specific one. I can give you some of the actions. But what I would like to do is to generate a detailed list. Here's a piece of legislation. Here's what we've done. Because that's a part of my duties. Finally, on a lighter note, a group of students gathered in this room last night at about 10 o'clock on until the hour after that, talking about relief efforts for Haiti. Obviously, we know there's a lot of tragedy, there's been a lot of media attention. This group has done a lot of hard work for this, so I want to make sure that you guys are aware of what's going on and encourage you to help. Colin Layton mentioned 12 Days for Haiti, which is a unified marketing effort with events with the MSC, with the group that is planning a Haiti benefit concert on February 12th. The MSC event should be on February 17th. What else am I missing? Student Engineers Council should have something February 11th. And on top of that, some of our student government committees are pitching in with old t-shirts that they have they can't do much with. They're going to try to sell them, and what they can't sell, they're going to send to Haiti. I think that's a perfect example of students at Texas A&M and our willingness to provide service, our willingness to unite, our willingness to start a broad-reaching motion to raise money to benefit others. I'm really excited about this prospect. Marco Magazine will work his tail off on it. And I hope it's very successful, and I hope you guys can help us with it. Thank you.
All right, first question, as a member of the External Affairs Committee, why has the LR Commission not worked with the Senate to pass legislation in order for us to give them the okay to, advocate on the art advocating?
As far as what we talked about. Because we entered into an agreement with all of the schools of the Big 12 to lobby on what all of those schools work on behalf of, and we will come to student senate with legislation on that regard. However, that group has not decided yet. One of the things that we talked about is obviously SAFRA, but it's not decided, so we can't do that. But we will when it happens.
All right, Chair Simmons.
Chair Simmons, rules and regulations. Did you tell Logan or any other member of LR not to fundraise because SGA had the money?
Absolutely. It is wildly inappropriate in my opinion. For us to ask for money from the President's Office, the Vice President's Office, Student Activities, Association of Former Students Foundation, any of those groups, which are the general fundraising groups and the ones that have funded this trip in the past, when we have the money in our bank account. Not only is it embarrassing for Student Government Association when they see that we have it and yet we're asking for theirs, but I find it to be inappropriate.
Senator Anderson.
Right away. Colin, Senator Anderson, off campus. I don't know whether to address you as SVP Loveless or Appropriations Chair Loveless. What would you rather me call you right now? Because apparently you know more about the appropriations than I do, or Chair Grosskobauer, or anybody else who's done this for however long now that we've been doing this. I could throw a lot of numbers and dates at you, Colin. Not going to. The first thing I just addressing, I mean, it just gets to you whenever you call out somebody and obviously you don't know anything about the situation. That's what I'm hearing. But a lot of people who do know about the situation. The question is, Colin, how many times did you call Chair Grosskobauer? How many times have you emailed Chair Grosskobauer? How many times have you tried to communicate with Chair Grosskobauer on these important issues that he obviously doesn't want anything to do with you? I don't know, because he's not responding to your one email or however else that you tried. I mean, that's my question. How have you tried to get in contact with the person who knows the most about the situation?
To clarify something, the person who knows the most about the SGA budget would be Ms. Judy Bean, who is sitting on this side of the room. In response to that, my question and pleading for responses to emails for groups to know is coming from diversity, EIC, and the legislative relations chairs who have all repeatedly requested more information, and we're not making their own. So on that end, they can't answer my questions when I'm delegating the task of dealing with appropriations to them.
Quick follow-up. He didn't answer my. How many times have you called? Not diversity, not all these others. You, because you're the one who said that he didn't email you back or
No.
you back. That's what I'm asking.
I said that we cannot execute our tasks without this money, and I don't know what to do. That is me and my team. I speak for the entire executive branch when I say that.
Chair Grosskobauer.
Sure, Mr. Colin, have you ever attended an appropriations meeting? Have you ever attended an appeals where one of your committees came and asked for money? Have you ever sat down and talked to Matt Owen about what we're dealing with, and you talked to him about the communication that Matt Owen and I have on a daily basis? Have you talked to him about that?
To answer your first question, have I ever sat in an appropriations committee meeting? Yes. I was in appropriations in the 60th session. It's the best one that's happened while
Well, I guess just clarify this.
But because I'm talking, and I have to I meet with Matt Owen regularly in these committees and ask me questions. And the continual message that I get from these groups is that they haven't heard from appropriations. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Just quick clarification. You talked to Matt Owen, right?
Repeatedly.
Okay. And it's Matt Owen's job to talk to the committees, and then he relayed that to me, right? That's what his job is as the VP of Finance.
And then it would be your job to communicate to the committees what your plan is on meeting and responding to their requests, would it not?
Okay.
All right, Senator Thornburg.
Senator Thornburg Coles, on a much lighter note, have you discussed with the other 11 Big 12 schools of how they're getting funded? Because could we possibly follow their steps in finding funding?
Yes, Logan's talked to them a little. I couldn't go into too much detail because he's mainly handled that because he talks to them more than I do. Most of them, I believe, are coming from allocations from the student government, but I really couldn't say in detail.
All right, Senator Chair Fields.
Just Fields, constituency affairs. Boy, Colin, I've known you for a few years. I've never heard you say anything so incredibly arrogant or absurd as you just said. How can you possibly not send out an email and ask every single student organization right now, or tell them that you just told us that apparently a few students going to Washington don't have to fundraise when all these 700 organizations have to fundraise every single day. And you sit there telling us that they don't have to fundraise because you expect them to get the money to sit in the account that can be used for other things that are just as or more important. How can you honestly sit here and tell us that and not tell that to these other student organizations? I mean, I hope you retract that, Colin, because I'm on your side. I want you to do well, but for God's sake, for you to say to us that they deserve the money and deserve not to fundraise and deserve to just be able to sit there and be quiet while all these other student organizations have to fundraise every single day. I just can't believe you said that. So will you retract the statement, and will you tell other student organizations that this particular group, this particular event is getting special treatment from the SGA elite?
Point of information, Madam Speaker.
Stan?
Is it not true that legislative relations actually had a profit share at Chick-fil-A no less, to fundraise?
I assume it is true. That's my same question. Anyways, back in order.
Chair Fields, I will not retract that statement. LR has been fundraising, and besides that, they lobby on issues and efforts that benefit every single student on our campus.
Did you not just respond absolutely to the fact that he asked you, have you told them not to fundraise because the money was in the budget? You said absolutely. Did you not say that?
Yes,
Just 5 minutes ago?
I told them not to send letters to the president's office, the vice president's office, and student activities, the Association of Former Students, and the foundation, because we have the money. We can't ask for their money when they don't have it, and we do.
Senator Harmon.
Senator Herman off campus. Backing up a little bit. In the beginning, you gave a report saying that we have $11,000 in the bank.
Yes, sir.
How, according to what I've heard, now we have about 5,000. How would we be able to access? Well, how would we be able to access last year's over what we've had from last year?
Okay. There are two accounts. There is the general ledger, which is where our allocations for this fiscal year went, and then there is the account that we rolled over monies not spent from the last fiscal year. In those two accounts, before the allocation bill tonight, there was $11,876.31. You subtract the $2,500-ish that we've got over $9,000 in those two accounts combined. We have access to both. Ms. Judy can get to them. We are just waiting for Senate to allocate them. So if you look at both accounts, one account is $5,900, the other has $5,800. That's where you're seeing the numbers, probably about 5,000. I'm adding them together.
All right, we're gonna end questions, but real quick, who all has questions, who all has questions, like left, that they would have asked in this time period? Bowen, I think Senator Ibrahim, Senator Elsher, Senator Coyne, just to let you know, those guys can be that they have questions, we're gonna move on.
You have
any
email
point of
address.
information? Any point of information?
How much money are we arguing about here?
$5,300, I assume, is that correct? All right, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, I move to reopen question and answer for a period of 5 minutes.
I would really not suggest that. If you have seen what's going on, and yes, I can keep that in order, but it's going down a path that I don't think we need to go down, even if we need to. I don't think we will get the majority anyway, so I would definitely. All right, Mr. Reed.
Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
Just a few things I wanted to brush up on. I'd like to go ahead and tell you, or reveal that I have come up with a list of job responsibilities for the judicial court and the Chief Justice. That's no surprise, I was the first branch. I am a little arrogant, that's why I'm going to stop. But let the record reflect that I am providing a copy to the room. I have provided all the chairs if you want them. Most of them are already in the Constitution and the bylaws. The ones that aren't, I'll add soon. On top of that, I would like to also reveal to you that the previous meeting that y'all had, you voted on election regulations, and one of the amendments directly contradicted another thing that was in the election regulations. And specifically speaking, it was, it's off campus. Election Commissioner Jacob Lopez, he, in his election regulations, he said that there should not be off-campus campaigning. There's an amendment passed saying that, yes, you can have off-campus campaigning as long as the resident or the business owner says it's okay. Just to let you know, I issued a district court memorandum and provided that to the election commissioner and the student body president, stating that it was the intent of the student senate that the final amendment that allows off-campus campaigning with the signature of the business owner to be the intent of the election regulations. That's not saying that court cases can't come to J-court about that same issue still. I just want to reduce confusion, candidates, they want to be misled, make wrong decisions when they're campaigning. That's what I like to call communication. And that actually leads into my next point pretty well. And it's not my job responsibility to come up here, lecture to you guys, go to exec, lecture to you, set goals. It's not my job. My job is to interpret the Constitution, pure and simple. But I do feel that it is my responsibility as a leader within SGA with 5 years of experience to pass this on. Communication isn't talking. It's not speaking. It's not calling someone on the phone. It's not an email. It's more than that. It's listening. Not hearing, not typing on your computers. It's listening to the individual point of view. Not thinking about how will I confront this issue, how will I argue this issue. It's actually listening and grasping the person's argument. Another thing to go on that is writing. I mean, we all have phones, we all have email. There's no reason why we shouldn't do this. What was it? Monday, Scott Bowen and I had an issue with election regulations. I was unclear on what he was speaking. He immediately emailed me within 30 seconds of me getting home. I received that email. What, minute and a half? I responded to you. It's not hard. It's your job. If you can't do it, get out. I'll find someone that can do it. It's not difficult. Communicate. Talk. Let's get this done. Let's get it rolling. A couple other things I just want to hit on briefly on y'all's bills. With your city council position, eventually it's going to be left up to you guys to decide who selects what for the position, and I'm going to go to RR and I'll talk about that as well. But whatever you do with that position, put it in the Constitution so we can hold them accountable. One of the problems we've had over years is, what does everybody do? What do I do? What does the student body president do? What does the speaker do? Well, the way we hold people accountable, we put our job title in our Constitution. You don't do that, you fail. You get it removed from office, and we replace you. That's how things work in the real world. Finally, that's all I've got actually. Okay, that's all I got. Great. Here you go.
Real quick, Chair, Chair, you mentioned about putting it in the Constitution. In your opinion, basically, in your opinion, how do you think that that should be done? Do you think possibly we should include more student input on this decision process as well, rather than just senators?
So just to clarify, your question is how to implement this policy into the Constitution, and then 2, do you feel like we should have more student input? It's a good question. I don't think I can answer the second part, to be completely honest with you. I have not much experience in that realm. I would say that as a student, as a voice of the student body, I trust y'all, and I trust the student body president to make the correct decision, and I think that's enough for that. I don't know how informed the student body would be on a particular issue like this. Not that I don't trust the student body, because obviously they elect some great leaders than you guys. That being said, I would leave it to the leaders of the student government. Once you get it in, or once you put in the process of this Constitution, it's easy. You just got to put under, the responsibilities of either legislative branch or executive branch, or whoever does it, share, whatever you guys end up deciding. So that'll be easy, and I'll help you guys out with that process, so don't worry about that.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no more questions, we'll now move on to Speaker Pro Tem Womack. Do you have announcements? What do you have announcements? All right, go for it.
All right, howdy. Howdy. I am personally, on behalf of SGA, working on a couple things. Working on dealing with the SOFC and sessions, make some of those things a little bit easier. I'm also working on quasi-auditing staff, not officially, probably in an accounting sense, more just finding out more information about where the student services fee goes. And if you're interested in working on any of those, come and talk to me. I can plug in. I need some about 2 or 3 extra people on each of those. So if you want to work on SPAB or the SOC and concessions, anything like that, and you have experience with that, I'd love to have you come and talk to me after the meeting. Thanks again.
To add on to what Chair Simmons was saying, he's working with a lot of administrators to see what we can do with the SOC. I will also be working, and hopefully we can share some joint people on this. We're talking to student groups all over campus. We're starting out with the ISC next Tuesday, and then we'll hopefully be moving on to other organizations. We might have organizational leaders around tables, that way we can talk to them about this. But the SOC is one of the major issues that students are facing right now, and not a lot of people are happy with it. So that's something we're going to be looking into. All right, go for it, Davenport.
All right, howdy.
Howdy.
I just want to let y'all know that the registration deadline to vote in the March 2nd primary is actually this coming Monday, February 1st. There will be a debate on Friday at, I think, 6 o'clock. It's for the Republican primary, so you have Hutchinson, Rick Perry, and Deborah Medina. If you have questions about any of those candidates, if you have questions about Hutchinson, you can talk to me. If you have questions about Rick Perry, you can talk to Senator Caperton, and I believe if you have questions about Medina, you can ask Senator Pulliam. Is that correct? Information about Deborah?
And if you have questions about the complete other side of the ballot, come talk to me.
I was going to say, if you have any questions about Bill Whitelaw, we're going to have to go to Houston.
Or you can come talk to me.
All right, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
Howdy! Howdy! I've already, on a lighter note, I've already heard Daniel Biggs spiel about Bill White.
That's why he's gonna vote.
He is my Motor Ridge fishing guy. All right, so Constituency Affairs Committee. So conveniently, we have Development Day when I had sent out on my August report the first meeting date. So I will send you, if you're not on the listserv, but you're a caucus leader, which there shouldn't be, but there may be 1 or 2 people who aren't, but most all of you, I believe, are on the listserv that I have on Gmail. Send an email to cachair@gmail.com. CAchair. Couldn't get any easier. Also, with the blessing of Vicki and with the help of Mark Womack, got approval for it, Vicki told me, we're going to create an all SGA blog, and we're going to basically give each and every one of you an admin power to post and to make comments, and so everybody can contribute to a blog. It probably will fail, because most of these blogs have failed, but you know what? It's an experiment. It didn't cost us anything, so it's worth trying. And I'll be sending that out via the Senate listserv when we get that set up, and we may talk about that in our first meeting as well. Thanks and gigging.
Howdy. Thank you, Chair Fields, for reminding me. The next Student Services meeting will be on Development Day, and it will start an hour before Development Day at the same location. So head out to the G. Rowley Visitor Center at 6 o'clock rather than 7. Also, any
information? When is Development Day?
I'm talking about it.
Oh, okay.
If you have the email,
Pardon?
February 3rd.
Wait, what?
February 3rd, next Wednesday.
Furthermore, if you're interested, I believe we are forming, and I should soon be naming chairs, I think I have them, for the Physical Plan Subcommittee and Student Disabilities Subcommittee. If any senator is interested in working with either of those, they will actually be compiling reports this semester relating to physical plan, deferred maintenance issues probably, and quick way, simple fixes to make life for students with disabilities easier on this campus. So any senator interested in working with either committee, contact me. Thanks, Stephen.
Howdy. This might be something Colin's like to listen to, but guess what? Carpool's up and running again. And I just like personally to thank y'all for all the donations y'all been contributing to us. And this is just me. This is not speaking for me or Carpool as an organization itself. This is just for me. We will be having donation cans out until the end of the week on Friday. So if y'all have any money, any change, 50 cents, penny, whatever, we're accepting it. Our goal is to at least get to, I believe, 50,000 in fundraising, so this does not happen again and we do not shut down. But sincerely, from all my heart, thank y'all. And we will be up and running Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if y'all want more gigs, give us a call.
If y'all are interested in getting involved in an organization outside the Senate,
cool opportunity for students to hear a great message. Consider you looking to Tell Your Story Leadership Forum. So a brand new organization this year that some of us are putting on, and the idea of it is behind it is Gilbert, Abbott, Spencer. These are great leadership conferences. They're very exclusive. They're very few amount of students who go on these. And so we're bringing speakers to A&M for one night forum on March 8th. So if you don't even consider what I'm about to tell you, consider going to this forum. How you can guys get involved is be a Tell Your Story host. And this is threefold. You get to speak to student organizations about Tell Your Story. You get to be a marketer. You get to be usher the day of the event. It's a very cool opportunity. It's a 1 month time commitment. And this experience is invaluable. Go to tellyourstory.tamu.edu. Applications are due Friday. I really encourage you all to look into this opportunity to see something you want to do. Thanks for being here.
All right, real quick. We did not have an academic affairs meeting last Sunday. I'm sorry for the confusion. We will be having academic affairs meeting this semester. I've not decided when, but I'll be sending an email shortly and you will know. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
To clarify, I think in the email it said that the CA chair or CA meeting would be next tomorrow, and that's not gonna happen. So meet next Wednesday.
No, the next one's the development day.
Yeah, I know, but you're okay.
Yeah, you might have put the count.
It's gonna be awesome. Anyways, speaker pro tem for Womack. Senator Anderson, please be quiet.
Tell people that we are open also, because I know there's a lot of people that don't know if we're running or not. So make sure if you see anyone of your constituents to tell them that our holders are.
Howdy. Howdy. Sorry, it's a bit heavy on the pro tip load. I got some a lot of stuff coming up, but I don't even laugh at it. But I'm trying to be extremely short. There's just 3 things. First thing is going to be first thing is going to be development day. Second thing is going to be vacancy announcements, and then the final thing is going to be this one quick thing. Okay. So first thing, development day is next Wednesday. Just the student senate was intended. 2 Womacks. Get out of here real quick. Okay. First thing is development day is going to be next Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the G. Brawley White Visitor Center. Basically, you get on university and you just keep going until you see flagpoles. I mean, it's out there.
When you
But
smell farm,
it is the only place that I can find that's still available. The place we had last time, we were like, it was booked solid. I get to development day questions in the development day section. It's going to be next Wednesday, 7 o'clock. I'm going to be sending out a big email about it tomorrow. It's going to be a lot more discussions, a lot of stuff I got back, feedback. If anybody has any more feedback, now that they have some time to think about it on development day, what we did, they want more stuff, that kind of thing, just let me know. Basically, just, you don't have to be dressed, nothing, just bring a spiral and a pen if you want to. Next time you have to dress.
Clothing is optional.
Guys, I don't think you want a clothing option.
Alright, enough. I'm good, I got 20 minutes. Alright, so, you don't have to be in suits or anything like that. Just come, open mind, have a lot of good discussion. I think everybody had a really good time last time, getting a lot of good ideas circulating and stuff like that. But it's going to be a little bit different, and we're going to have one overarching theme, and the theme is re-election, and not re-election, but refiling. We want to encourage. I can't control anybody, coming back, but I want everybody to refile. So, anyway, but that's development day. Any questions about development day before we go on to the point?
Which way out of the university do we go?
Out towards Woburn.
Okay, thank you.
So, going away from Highway 6.
No.
Yeah, going away from Highway 6.
Wow.
Alright. Hey, you guys might want to take out a pen. These are the Senate vacancies that I'm now officially announcing, and this is our first meeting of the spring. Yeah, everybody would super love that right there. Alright. We have 1 vacancy in the College of Architecture. We have 1 vacancy in the College of Education. We have 2 vacancies in the College of General Studies. We have 1 vacancy in the College of Geosciences. We have 2 vacancies in the College of Science. Does anybody else need me to repeat any of the colleges? I'm not done yet. Okay, one in architecture, one in education, 2 in general studies, 1 in geosciences, and both sciences. Okay, moving on to housing. We have 1 vacancy in university apartments. We have 1 vacancy in the Southside residency halls. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vacancies in the off-campus caucus, and we have 1 vacancy in the Corps of Cadets caucus. Okay, so if anybody has any questions about applications, it's going to be up online tomorrow. It's going to be a bit different, but the timeline will be listed and posted. It's going to be a bit different as far as interviews because it's Super Bowl, but it'll all be posted online. So does anybody have any questions about vacancies? Vacancies. Okay, and then I'll be emailing out everybody's members. I'm going to need help with doing the application process. Okay, and then the final thing is, really quickly, I saw something today that I feel has a very, very easy track to a very bad place. I feel that it's very important that we discuss and we debate, but one thing that we cannot permit is argument. And I cannot, I like to think I can convince people, and if you don't believe anything I ever say again, please believe what I'm about to tell you. Okay? If you lose sight of the fact that it's your job to serve students, and that's why we're here, and you start thinking about beating the other person more than that, I don't care if I lose every bit of credibility I have, if I have to call in every favor, and I destroy any kind of future I ever had in student government. And I don't care if you're my roommate, my brother, a Senate officer, or somebody I've never met before. I will do everything I can to get you out of this body. Because that is a cancer. And I'm not saying it exists in anybody here right now. I'm not saying it ever will. But we always have to be mindful and vigilant. Because if that creeps up, then we don't have any kind of purpose. Everybody needs to remain humble, eloquent, articulate, and respectful. And that's what wins debate. But argument has no place here on any side of any issue. So please remember that. Please remember the students you serve. And please remember that hopefully our goal is going to be that everybody watches us online. Be the kind of senator you want everyone to watch you be. Don't be an arguer, be a debater. Be a senator, be humble, and do the job that you were elected or put in your seat to do. So, thanks again. Any questions?
When and where do we announce that?
We do what now?
Run for re-election, refile.
Oh, refile? I will be talking about it in development day. Any other questions can be directed to Jacob Lopez through Colin Lopez's email. As far as filing, you can't miss it. There'll be signs everywhere, but keep looking for the table in front of POTUS as far as refiling for election.
Next week, so February 1st.
Email going out somehow.
Yeah. Email going out.
Okay. Any other questions about vacancies? Development day?
Stay in order.
If I could please get some help putting the room back in order at the end, that'd be very good. Okay. Speaker Bro.
On a lighter
Chair Simmons. Chair Wilson. Chair Dick.
Good
night,
Irene.
Chair Fields.
Howdy.
Senator Roberts.
Howdy.
Senator Helsham.
Howdy.
Senator Oaks.
Howdy.
Senator Boyd. Howdy. Senator Thornburg.
Howdy.
Senator Atkins. Howdy.
Stay in order
Senator
while
Meekbeck.
roll is being called.
Senator Meekbeck. Senator Smith.
Howdy.
Senator Maloney.
Howdy.
Senator Davenport.
Okay.
Senator Marinko. Senator Caroline Bell. Senator Coleman. Senator Coleman. Senator Yagin. Senator Williamson. Senator Strickland. Senator Scott Bell. Howdy. Thank you very much. Senator Smith. Howdy. Senator Stowe. Howdy. Senator Sheets. Who dat? Senator Walker. Howdy. Senator Usher. Senator Cable. Howdy. Senator Lacy. Senator Bell. Senator Fitz. Howdy. Senator Kicker. Senator Thomas.
Oh, howdy.
Senator Russell.
Howdy.
Senator Griffin.
Focus.
Senator
Hey,
Schnott.
stay in order.
Senator Schnott. Senator Hassan. Senator Hassan. Northside.
Okay.
Senator Sarah. Senator Sarah. Senator Ibrahim. Howdy. Senator Albright. Senator Toffee.
Howdy.
Senator Herman. Howdy. Senator Slack. Senator Rogers. Senator Bowman.
Howdy.
Senator Horn. Senator Hughes.
Agarbeck.
Howdy.
Senator Messer.
Keep the hell out of Texas Tech.
Senator McDuffie. Senator Parsons. Howdy. Mayor Grossman. Senator Rhodes. Howdy. Senator Henderson. Howdy. Senator Brown. Senator Crumpler.
Howdy.
Senator Brown. Senator Graff. Senator Ledger. Senator Ledger. Senator Esparza.